Hello, Pirate Dave here. It's another new comic book day. It's June 3rd, 2026. A happy Pride Month to all who celebrate it. Let's get right into it with some comics and right into it with a Pride comic book. It is Justice League Dream Girls, a DC Pride event. Right on the cover, you have Dreamer and a character I'm not very familiar with, Galaxy. I don't even say very familiar. I don't know anything about this character at all, so this should be a pretty intriguing comic book for me. Dreamer, of course, is a character I'm very familiar with by this point. Nicole Maines has really been putting in the footwork for this character. She's probably the most significantly established character of the last couple of years, in amongst the big two, with the exception of Jeff the Landshark. I think his popularity has just ran away. But Nicole Maines has really been putting in the footwork for Dreamer. This is going to be more of an anthology series. It looks like we're going to open up with a story on Themyscira, and I think it's going to be kind of a riff on Diana's original meeting of Steve Trevor, from what I've seen inside. Skipping ahead, we see a little bit of different art style. Indicate the, oh, it looks like we got the Green Lanterns. There's I think that's Jessica Cruz, and oh, there's Green Arrow too. There's the Star Sapphire. Oh, that's fantastic. Sorry. This also features a story by Greg Rucka for Batwoman. He is currently writing the ongoing Batwoman series. So if you are following Batwoman, this is a book that you'll want to pick up. I assume that it'll be a disconnected story. It looks like she's on vacation there, right? So probably not essential reading, but if if you're a fan of the character, there you go. Sorry, this book has been creating some sort of weird, weird lighting thing with my camera setup. It doesn't like the Dead Man. This is the Dead Man from DC. To be honest, I'm peripherally familiar with this character. I really only know him. It's gonna sound weird, but from DC Universe Online. He's got a Bostonian accent, right? He's from Boston. He's got a really cool look, and he's a ghost that can, I guess, possess people. That's all I know about him. So hopefully this is a fair entry point, I would assume, for the character, and will get me oriented on what he's all about. And not that I, not that I have the deep wallet to pull a bunch of issues, but maybe I'll be so interested I'll be diving into his backstory. Up next, this is a book that has been pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. It's Rook Exodus number 10. And of course, we did see this guy featured on the cover, Stag, in the last issue, but I'm sure we'll get much, much more of him in this one. The artist, Jason Fabok, has been dealing with a shoulder injury for the last year, from my understanding. And let's just open up the just open up the book. He has been an exceptional artist. Look at this. Exceptional artist. And it looks like we're going to dive right into Stag's backstory, just with that second and third splash page. Looking, this is quality that you wait for. And I've been online, defending Jason Fabok from all the people that are, and of course people let their emotions run wild. They're waiting for these books, they get frustrated, but there's a way to express that frustration than to, I guess, frame it in a way that makes it insensitive to a medical issue, a health issue. And thankfully, like, a shoulder injury isn't something, hopefully, that will be ongoing or anything like that. But it's really, I'm sure that I'm sure no artist wants to be sidelined, especially an exceptional artist like this. Nor do they want to feel so pressured to come back, apart from the pressure they already feel, right? So I've been a little bit overly zealous myself about defending him online, if I'm being honest. But I am glad to see number 10 finally drop. Up next, we have Junk Puncher from Mad Cave, and this is the foil cover, as of course. I don't know. You're asking me? I don't know. I don't know what this is about. Presumably, it's going to be about junks getting punched. At least it dang well better. I told I told Kevin, is the guy at my LCS, the worker at my LCS. He asked me if I was picking this up. He knew it was probably going to be right up my alley. I told him I got the foil cover, and I told him if it don't have junk punching in it, I'm bringing it back. So looks like we get just like Rook's Exodus, but with a different tone, right? We get a nice 2 and 3 splash page, really setting the tone for this upcoming issue. Let's get a shot of that guy's face. Oh, jug punch. That's. Do I need to say any more? You're either picking this up or you aren't picking this up. That's it. I'm not going to sell you on that any more than it already did. Up next is Star Wars Rogue One Jyn Erso, and I went with the photo variant. Look at that. Jyn Erso. From what I understand from the solicit, this is going to pick up, yeah, well, at least the first panel there. First couple of panels are going to be that opening scene from Rogue One. And I assume that it's going to be the story in between. Basically that scene and the scene where she is broken out of captivity by the rebels. But I don't actually know. I mean, it has to be, unless it's a straight comic book adaptation of the movie, right? Because spoilers, what happens right at the end of the movie. Always interested in that. You know, those Star Wars stories take place in between the movies and the events, fill in the gaps. Lastly, for the floppies, it is Supergirl Survive, and this is going to be sort of an alternate story of Supergirl surviving on Krypton, as mentioned. Presumably, Death Stranding situation where she's taking care of Clark, because it looks like this is Kal-El. They mention it's her cousin. And so he's already born on Krypton. He's a baby. I don't remember how long in. Well, I don't know. I should say all the stories that you read. You know, he's even there's even one story where he's born on Earth. Technically, right? He's still incubated in the spaceship. I think that's John Byrne's version, actually. So it looks like we're going to get sort of an alternate timeline story where Kara cares for Kal-El as a baby on Krypton. That'll be interesting. And then up last for the new pickups, it is Supergirl The World. Appropriately enough, leading off of Supergirl Survive, Supergirl The World. This is an anthology of 14 stories collected from across the globe. That's international writers and artists. I don't know where these stories would have appeared before. I presume that they're not written specifically for this book. Maybe they are. Who knows? You can see all the different countries on the back of the book. And the binding itself is really fantastic. It's got a dust jacket, a nice high quality dust jacket. And the art is the same underneath the dust jacket. So if you're wondering if we get some alternate art there, that's not exactly what's going on. This was $24.99. Well, that's how much I paid for it. My LCS listed it at. And yeah, there you go. $24.99. There were some of the stories that were featured in here. Hello. Some of the stories that were featured in here were in a free comic book day issue. And to be honest, I read that it wasn't received very well. A lot of people had a problem with the stories. I do read a fair amount of international works, and I will say that storytelling does vary outside of America. In America, there's very typical storytelling elements that are expected, especially the satisfying ending, whether happy or not. Everything's sort of wrapped up and explained and resolved. That doesn't always happen in international stories. A lot of even the greatest stories, a lot of things are left unsaid. And don't get me wrong, it's extremely frustrating as an American reader, you know, but I appreciate usually all the other parts of the story. I try not to make excuses for that. I know that it is kind of a cultural difference, and in those cultures, it's kind of accepted, or it's even, you know, considered artistically superior to leave things left unsaid in that regard. But anyway, that's enough of me rambling. Supergirl the World, international authors and artists. If that sounds like your bag, and I'm sure it's all just riding the hype train of the Supergirl movie coming out this year. But if there's ever a good reason to get something interesting like this, at least for me, great. It's a great excuse, and I'm looking forward to that one. I do have some bonuses, and I'm calling this the Breccia Trifecta, if I'm even pronouncing that last name right. We have Life of Che, sorry, that's going to be, of course, Che Guevara. This is written by Westerheld, the same writer of Eternaut and Mort Cinder. And of course, he suffered a tragic fate in the Argentinian Revolution in the late 70s and early 80s, of course. It's also illustrated by Alberto Breccia and Enrique Breccia. And of course, it's going to be telling, I assume, a dramatized version of the, we're going to get, if you're sensitive to that sort of imagery, just fair warning that it's there. This is telling a dramatized version of biography of Che Guevara's life. And of course, Alberto Breccia, who looks like he's really going to be leading the art direction on this. And you'll find out why I make that distinction. And his black and white work is just, it's defining. It's defining of the aesthetic, to me at least, We also have Evita, the life and work of Eva Peron, by Hector Herman Westerheld, Alberto Breccia, and Enrique Breccia. It's very cool that these three worked on these two books together. I had no idea. I was such a fan of Mort Cinder, and that was just Westerheld and Breccia. Alberto worked with his son Enrique on these two books. I imagine they worked on other stuff too, especially for magazines and things like that. But these are, as an American reader, these are just more obtainable. Is that the term? And it looks like this is going to be more of a novella illustrated sort of series. There's a lot of chunks of text, and it's really just going to tell the life of Eva Peron rather than be a conventionally presented comic book graphic novel sort of story. So keep that in mind if you're looking into this. I got it because these three were on board. So lastly, this is just Enrique Breccia with Carlos Trillo is the writer. I'm not familiar with him, but I was familiar with the name Alvar Mayor. I sadly missed a Kickstarter that was collecting this whole collection. So this is just a tiny part of the Alvar Mayor story, but I got it because of that Enrique Breccia name. I really wanted to dive into his work, being such a fan of his father's. And you can see here, he's definitely reminiscent of his father's work with a little bit more of a conventional flair, I would say, if that's the right term. He's not, he doesn't seem as experimental, but rather influenced, if that makes sense. And Alberto Breccia, of course, I'm sure he was influenced by other authors as well, but he really carved out, quite literally in some cases, using razor blades and ink, he carved out his own sort of aesthetic. And you see here, Alberto Breccia has certainly defined his aesthetic separate from his father. And I'll say, just at a glance, in a lot of ways, I like it more because it is that line between Alberto Breccia's sort of brilliance and more conventionally composed panel work. Man, I'd show you this whole book if I could. I'm sure I could, but I don't know that there's really too many people out there watching these videos to begin with that are so interested. I'm super excited. That's why I make these videos, is to sort of share a part of myself, however small, just so you know, this kind of stuff interests me and it excites me, and it's one of the things I really love about the sequential art format and graphic novels and things like that. You know, I don't want to give too much shade to people that are just into Marvel and DC and superheroes and things like that, because that's what makes really those books possible. I don't know that there would be a industry for the medium that would allow people with more eclectic or not, eclectic's not the right term, um, esoteric more esoteric tastes and interests and ideas with comic books, like you saw in those last three, and even Supergirl the World, right? You know, that's sort of a thing that obviously works out for that the people of those country, because they will embrace writers of their own culture. But for it to get collected and presented to American readers, it's a really it's not a easy moneymaker. You know, it's not a slam dunk or anything. It really is, you know, it's a gamble, and it's I'm very grateful to all of you that read Marvel and read DC and buy Spider-Man and buy Batman and buy all the popular comic books, because all, like, any of that money absolutely trickles down to that kind of stuff getting produced. So I don't know if there's anybody out here there that likes that's more esoteric stuff like me. If there is, hey man, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Hopefully these books were a little interesting to you. Hopefully you're having a great week. Hopefully you have a great and happy Pride Month if you're celebrating. If you're not celebrating for whatever reason, I hope you have a happy month anyway. I'm Pirate Dave, and I'll see you next time. Bye.